Okay, everybody. One thing we have today is working on the ability to see through things. Because right now, if you'll notice, whenever we start the game, we wander up here. I've just made this little quick thing that allows us to go underneath here. And actually, there's a way to get through this. But if you can't see, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So something that's going to make this life a little easier for you and for all of our characters is if we can see through a roof or a structure, so we can see our characters inside and what they're having to deal with. So what we're going to be building today is called an occlusion mask, and that's going to make it so we can see through these things. Okay, so to start off with, what we'll need to do is you need to identify what structures your camera is usually going to be running into, and we're going to be changing the material for that. Now, if you're working with a Cinti material, it's pretty easy because Cinti actually uses a material that it has an atlas inside of it, which is all the little pictures and colors and everything in one JPEG that it pulls from and populates the entire space with. So a lot of times, if you look at the materials for a Cinti asset, you'll see that it has one material for multiple buildings, structures. A lot of times the characters are using the same material as the structures even. So that makes things a lot easier. If you just make a copy of that material and then do what I'm going to be doing with this one I'm going to freshly make, then you'll be in good shape. All right, so first thing we need to do is I'm going to go into user made real quick, and this is going to be a user made material. So I'm going to call this m underscore see through. It may not contain white space. Yeah, no, that's right. See through. We're just going to call it see through. And first time we open up a material, we'll see that we have this basic bank right here where we're going to be sending everything into these nodes to get it to show up. Go ahead and pop this up here, and the see-through material is going to be something that is mimicking kind of what you get with the materials inside of like a Cinti asset or most anything else that you're going to bring in. A few things to notice about this. Without clicking on this right here, but just kind of clicking an event graph, you'll notice over here on the left side, here's all the details for the material. Now, right now, it's mostly doing surface. What they mean by this is it can mimic being able to see into it. So like if you have water or you have something that's kind of see-through, then you may go a little bit different. Deferred decal is one that you use for like really quick bullet hits or blood splatter or effects and things like that. You can put pictures and things up on walls real quickly that way. Light function, you can actually make these emissive. You'll notice that right through here we have an emissive color, but then you can also have these things throw off light if you really want them to. Volume is going to be for mostly kind of a different kind of fog or something where you want to make a post-process. So those are kind of in the same space. And then we have user interface materials as well. For what we're doing on a surface one, and we're going to be doing a masked one. Now, you might notice whenever I change this from opaque, something changed over here. So if I change it to masked, you'll notice the opacity mask over here turned on inside of this node right here. So another thing I can do, if I go to translucent, then that'll make just the opacity setup right here show up. Translucent, what it does is it allows you to have various shades of an object show up, and depending on the value it has in there, in the translucent value, it'll either show all of it or some gradient in between. Now that can be a little more expensive, so what I'm going to be doing is doing a masked version, and that just uses an opacity mask, which it'll either have a 1 or a 0, and so that'll make the material show up or be invisible, one or the other. Now, of course, if you find that translucent works better for you, a lot of what I'm doing right now will work with regular old opacity, so that's not a big deal. You can definitely do that, but the one I'm going to be working with is masked. So for the time being, what I need to do first is I need to give this thing a color. Right now, I can just go up here into base color and select something. I guess I'll probably, yeah, red looks fine. We'll do that. And then the rest of these values, you can fill them in as you if you'd like. I'm going to have something going into this opacity mask a little bit later. A normal, what that does is it kind of gives it a bit of a texture, and then you can always play with some of these other ones if you'd really like to, but for the most part you guys already have these materials. You're just trying to get it so you can see through it. Okay, so we got our base color there. Everything else I'm just going to kind of leave alone. You can tweak these if you really want to. Like if I take this from 0.5 to 1, after this changes up over here, it looks a little more powdery. As you start to change some of these, I'm going to take it up to 10, and we'll see. We're not going to see a lot of difference in there if you make small changes. I'm just going to put it right back to 0.5. There we go. And you just mostly notice it in the sheen that you get on the light. Specular will also kind of change some of those things. So if I change it to 0, then it looks a little more flat. If I change it up to 1, then we should see a little more shadow and light going across it. Metallic, I can make it look like it's, you know, really shiny and throwing a lot of light back. It could almost look reflective the higher I get this up in here, but we're not going to see a lot without some other material to kind of base it off. But a little further away, it starts to look like a Christmas ornament, a little bit there. All right, I'm just going to put it back to 1 because I don't really need that for right now. There we go. Just hit apply. Okay, and next thing we're going to need is we need a material function. Okay, so what this material function is going to do is it's going to be handling the different holes basically inside this material as your player moves around. That space between your camera and the material and your player, that's going to decide where it needs to make that invisible space. So we're going to go back into the content drawer. I'm going to right click in here. We're going to go to material down in here. Okay, and let's go ahead and save. That's fine. And let's do that one more time. I'm going to go back in here, material, and we're going to do a material parameter. No, I'm sorry. We need a material function. That's going to be in, we are going to get that here in just a second. I'm a little ahead of myself, but we want to get a material function right here. Okay, so it's going to be under advanced. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's call this MF underscore environment mask, or we could just say material mask too, I guess. Okay, and we're going to go into this, and there's not going to be a lot in here. This is going to be the first time you guys have probably seen inside of a material function, and a few things that we have to look at. I'm going to do something wrong. It has something to do with this exposed to library here, so that we can have some issues that I have a feeling somebody's going to miss. So I want to make sure that you guys are watching through this with me. And remember, this is going to be an issue right here. First thing we want to do is we are going to need to get some information about where our camera is. So we're going to go ahead and right click in here. We're going to do camera position. Let's see, camera position, coordinates, vectors. Let's see. Yep, that'll do. That'll work. Okay. And then we're going to do absolute world position. So this is where we are at currently. Loot. Let me just do world position. There we go. Yeah, sometimes you start typing in the whole thing, and for whatever reason, this one's not going to show up the way you would like it to. Now, what we're going to do from here is we really are going to need to know where our player is. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to go to our third-person player. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up. What we're going to need to do is send over some information about our player, and we're going to want to do that every tick. We want to update that every tick. So what I need to do is find out where my tick is, which looks like it's over here. There we go. Now currently what it's doing is it's going through here and it's setting up a number to go over that person's head, and it's also updating health whenever that's going to need to happen. And we have a little condition there. So what I want to do is I'm going to bring event tick up here. so I can get to it a little easier. And I'm going to bring these over. So what I'm going to do here is I need to set up something that tells it, like, here's where my player is. I need to send this into that material function. Issue is these materials don't really interact the same way that other blueprints do. So you have to kind of work around it a little bit. It's not really a bug or anything, like this is intentional. But what we have to do, since materials are constantly getting changed by lighting and by a lot of other factors, we have different ways of handling them. Okay, so one thing I want to do is I'm going to need to hold on to some information, and whenever you do that in a blueprint or a lot of other things, you just set up a variable. But in this case, we have to set up what's called a parameter collection. So we're going to come back to this. This is where we're going to come back to, but I need to go back into my content drawer. I'm going to go back over to my user made stuff, and I'm going to right click here, and we want to go back down to material. Okay. And we're going to get this material parameter collection right here. Okay. So, MP, there's a lot. I'm going to call it material parameter collector. Why not? We'll just call it that. That's exactly what it is. Why not? And if you need more of these for some reason, you're having different occlusions that are going on. Maybe you want to be able to see through a roof, but not through the floor of something else, depending on where you have people in the level. You might make others of these, but they're pretty simple. I've double clicked into this one and I'm in it right now. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make a new vector parameter right here. Okay, and what this is going to be is we're going to call this player location. Okay, and as far as this is concerned, that's it. That's all we got to do. We just have to set this up so we can pass this information to this material parameter collector, and then from here we can use it inside of our material function. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go back in and I can add that in. Let's see, I'm going to right click here, material parameter. Let me see. It's a parameter collector, so I think we can just do that. Parameter collector and parameter. There we go. That's it. Collection parameter. As I say, this thing is not always, for some reason inside the materials, they don't always come up the way you want them to, and so you might have to kind of hunt around a little bit. If you don't know what you're looking for, it's just something you're going to have to learn from here. But at this point, we can select which material parameter collection we're going to use. There's already one in here for something else, but we have ours right here, material parameter collector. And then we're also going to check the parameter name, player location, and this one's ready to go. Okay, so now we have the 3 different starting points of where we're going to go. We're going to be able to start building out what we need. So from here, we're going to say, well, we need a mask, and this is going to be an RGB mask. Let's see here, RGB. And let me see here, component mask. Now I need RGB, so that would just turn it on. There we go. We don't need the alpha, so we can just leave that off. And we're going to go down from, let's see here. We're going to take elements from the camera position as well as the XYZ from the absolute world position of where we're at. And we're going to get that distance between the camera and our player by subtracting what's between those two things. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off of this, and we're going to do a subtract, and then I'm going to get one more because I'm going to need it down here as well. So we're going to take the X, Y, and Z, and we're going to hook it up to this one. Both of these subtracts are going to get the camera position. We're going to throw that into B. There we go. And then from there, we're going to need to normalize what we're doing. So what normalize does is it gives it a direction. It tells it which way we're going with this. And what it does is it gives us a 1 or a 0. You're going to find that we end up doing a lot of 1 and 0 kind of work here. But from here, I'm just going to do normalize. There we go. And then I'm also going to do a second one down here. Oop, got both of them. There we go. Okay. And then we have that being normalized. Now that we have the direction and everything, we can get the dot product. And to do that, we just pull off of this and do dot. There we go. This is going to combine both of these together. And from this, we'll be able to make the, think about this as like a pipe we're just putting right through the structure, and we're able to make a view that's going to go right through that. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to get the pixel depth. So that what that is it's the number of pixels between your camera and your player. So I'm going to go ahead and get pixel depth. There we go. And we're going to need to multiply that times what we have here, but we need to flip it. So I'm going to do a 1 minus. There we go. And I'm going to multiply our pixel depth times that. Apply. There we go. So whatever we get from here from the dot product, we're going to flip it. We're going to multiply it times our pixel depth so we know what we're getting. And then, let's see, we're going to want to divide that. Otherwise, this is going to, if we just hook this up kind of like this right now, let me just show you what we got. This should actually work. We need to hook up the BP third person stuff, but I think from this point we probably are okay. It's going to look a little weird, but this is accurate. This is what we want. The black is representing where we should see a translucent look, and then everything else would show up. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Now I have this. I need to go back into I'm in my BP third person right now, and I'm going to pull off of this and do set vector parameter value. So there we go. And same thing we did with that material function. We're going to go in here and we're going to select our material parameter collector, player location, and then it's going to want to know where we're at. So we get world location. Let's see. Let me pull that off. It does kind of make it easier if I just say based on a scene component. So I'm going to drag that in. Let's say get world, come on, get world location. There we go. And then I just put that right into the parameter value right here. It'll convert it for us, which is nice. So on every tick, this is going to give this to us, and then it'll do everything else it's supposed to do. Okay, so as far as the character's concerned, this is done. Okay, at least for a player one kind of setup. Let's go ahead and go back to our material mask. Everything looks good there. Now we need to put it on our material here. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to try and get my material function. So I'm going to go in here, MF. You see there's other material functions already built in, and mine was called MF material. Well, I don't have it, but it looks like there was one here that was already used for something else, which is kind of nice. But mine's not showing up. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to MF material mask. Now, I told you before there was going to be a problem, right? And the problem is that I didn't expose it to the library. So now that I've done that and I hit apply, we should be able to use this now. Now, one of the things is this preview blend mode right here. Right now I've got it on opaque, but we are going to want to switch that over to mask. So I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. Make sure we apply that, save. That looks good. Third person looks good. The material mask looks good. See-through looks fine. Now I just need to go back into my level, and all these things I'm going to put that new material on it. So I'm just going to type see-through. There we go. And I'm actually going to do this with all of these all at once. So I'm just going to hold down Shift, and there we go. We have all those selected, and I'm going to go to the material, display to materials. Okay, so I'm going to do see-through. There's that one. And then the other one, oh, I guess this one's got its own material. Do see-through on that one too. I picked red because I thought it would kind of stand out and you'd be able to see it. Okay, so that's what it looks like before we start the game. Let's go ahead and hit play and let's see what happens. Boom. Okay. Okay. And I'm not seeing anything. Okay. So what could be going on right now is just something that we still have to do. Like I said, I felt like we were almost there, but I think we have a little bit more work to do right in between here. Since this is a mask, it's entirely possible that what this needs is a 1 or a 0, and right now we're not necessarily getting that off of this multiply right here. So let's go back in, and we're gonna make a few additions onto this. One thing is we probably want to clamp this from this point. So I'm going to do clamp, and this is going to get connected right here. The minimum would be 0, the maximum would be 1. So that would make our lives a lot easier there. Let me go ahead and apply that. I think that might be enough. Let's see what happens. Oop, there we go. Okay, I'm not getting any change, so we're missing something else here. I'm gonna go ahead and save everything. All right, so see through. Oh, I'm missing my opacity mask. That's a problem, because I went over here and I said, you know, hey, we need to make sure we have this exposed to library on so we could add this in, and I didn't do it. I'm silly. Okay, let's go ahead and right click in here, mf underscore material mask. There we go. Just going to put that right into the opacity mask right there, and it's going to refresh, and now you can see that there's a little hole in the middle of it. I'm just going to hit apply. Okay, save. We'll probably have to make a few more little changes, but let's try this out. We should see something here that's going to work for us. Now, there we go. Okay, so we see a small little hole. You can see that right there. Okay, and it is putting it right through the walls too. So notice when we come down here, we can see it. We just need this thing to be a lot bigger. So let's add a few things on. So we have our clamp that's working just fine. And then, believe it or not, from here, we need to divide this to get this to be bigger. Okay. So I'm going to pull off of this, and we're going to do divide. Okay. And I'm going to hook this up. Yeah, right to the clamp. Okay. And then I'm just going to make this into a variable real quick. Actually, in this case, it's going to be parameter. And I'm going to say occlusion size. There we go. And bring this down here. I think what I want to start off with is 20. Let's try that out. Oh, yeah, that looks like that'd be a lot bigger. Hit save. And let's see how we do here. Okay, preparing shaders. Okay, I might need to let that finish before I check this out. Let's see how we do. Okay, now that's a lot better. I'm able to see a lot better. Now, just a little heads up, I do have a second part to this, and I'm not quite done here. So what I'm going to do, notice I can't go through this, but you also aren't able to have multiple players. So let me show you kind of what this looks like right now. In fact, you know, I want to make another change. I think I want this to be 40. I want it to be a lot bigger. One thing is this currently won't work with the second player. Let me go ahead and turn on my controllers here, and let's check this out. Okay. And then there's my second guy. Oh, he's my third player. Go ahead and turn on another one here and see if I can get another controller. Oh, there we go. All right, there's 3 and 4. I'm just going to run these two guys up here. And we won't see anybody on 3, right? In fact, my first player, I'm going to go ahead and let's run everybody back a little bit. Let's see, here's 4. Oh, he hit a wall. There's 3. And, oh, I didn't click on my screen. That's why that's not working. But my first player, since I hit my 4th player first, that's the one that got the parameter working on it. So that's the one that gets to have this occlusion mask around it. And so, see, it doesn't get our enemies, but it does get anything with that material on it, which is handy. Okay, so in the second part, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to make this a little bit less completely see-through so that we can see some of the structure that we have here. And then we're also going to make it so we can have all of our players have their own occlusion mask as they run around. But this will get you started, get your material built, and you can kind of play with whatever occlusion size you think works best for you. If you think that you might have a pretty good idea of how to make this work with multiple players, definitely just go on ahead. It is going to be a little bit of research to try and make it work, or you can wait for the second part, which is going to be coming out the next day. So hopefully this helps you out, and this is getting started with occlusion masks part 1.